And that was Mark Maxwell, I Can't Make You Love Me, instrumental, played with the saxophone for the jazz music that we just played. But good evening, this is your host, CENDEARAH MENDAYZZ, on the NETERAL radio show. And today's topic is going to be about the bronze women in relationships. The time right now is 10:09 p.m., and I'm just going to basically give a recap on what we discussed on last week's show, which was the topic for last week's show was, should a bronze woman have more than one confidant? We discussed some of the followings, which consists of developing trustworthy confidence, the difference between a mentor and a confidant, and maintaining a healthy relationship with someone who you consider as a confidant. Okay, so that was just a recap, a preview of what last week's show was about. In this week's show, like I said, tonight's topic is bronze women in relationships. Okay, so we're going to get right into the topic on tonight. So one of the key things is what is a typical view of bronze women have towards relationships? So basically, what is their view that they have in relationship when they enter a relationship and when they exit relationships? You know, this is something that's just going to be discussed. So one of the things upon entering a relationship, you know, one of the things that a bronze woman view and perceive is at first-hand perception is her level of attraction physically and mentally. There's other factors that play a part upon her attraction, but mainly it's physical and a mental attraction that, you know, the woman perceives upon going into the relationship. So when it has a lot to do with the physical attribute, it has a lot to do with how the man carries himself, how well-mannered he is, and, just his whole mental faculty and things, and how he's able to influence some of the things that are, attractive for a woman physically. Upon, the upkeep of the man, keeping himself fit and just well-groomed and things like that. These are all the considerations that a bronze woman, view, and vice versa for bronze men. Okay, so another factor that plays a part is the mental attraction. They want to be able to level with the person who they enter in a relationship with and have some type of, connection for chemistry. It's not anything, bad between the two in terms of having a chemistry, whereas you have a lot in common with the opposite sex, and upon you entering a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you got some, women that enter a relationship and they immediately have that connection and that vibe, that mental connection, which is a good factor and plays a part upon her level of attraction. So those are basically the factors upon a woman entering, a relationship. And if she see otherwise, sometimes it can be an immediate turn-off when she find that the man could be well-groomed but is ill-mannered, don't have no respect and things like that. It doesn't matter how much money, how much prestige he has. That can be an immediate turn-off for a bronze woman in particular, and vice versa. Okay, so another factor that plays a part in the typical view of a woman upon entering a relationship is time and labeling. And the only reason why I say time and labeling is because if a bronze woman has entertained or had a relationship that is of interest, and let's say she's been dating and went through the stage of dating and courting and spending time with this man in particular, over time and giving it a time frame and things like that. Yes, you have bronze women, just women in general that give things a time frame, because you got people out there that don't want to waste their time or don't like to be strung along and things like that. So women basically put a time frame on a relationship and how they're going to continue on based on certain factors upon where the relationship is going to be going and how far it's going to go, whether it's going to be limited or extended. Okay, so this plays a factor. A woman, or bronze woman, it's very important that she understands the status of the relationship, where she stands, how the man view her, what category he puts her in, as is either, over time, being with her. Do you consider her to be your woman? Like, basically the officialness, the seriousness of a relationship over time. Bronze women like to be able to determine that factor. Okay, so the status of the relationship is very important. So it's very good to communicate, and for the woman to be able to function and know where she's going to be taking the relationship from, upon you putting things into perspective and you're on the same page and you're moving forward. Women just in general like to feel as though they are progressing and not feeling stagnated. So that's why I say it's very important. Okay, and another factor that plays a part upon entering is the emotional stability and the validation. So basically what she looks for in a man is not so much of, what should I say, it's not so much of, her being emotionally driven or anything like that, because I do recognize that there's a thin line between a woman being in control of her emotions and just being very sensitive and sentimental. It's a very thin line between the two. But upon her entering the relationship and being, equipped in terms of controlling her emotions and things like that, she want to be able to know that the man that she's with, upon entering the relationship, is able to foster certain things and bring certain types of security in the relationship, to whereas it won't allow her to be affected in a sentimental way, if that makes any sense. Not so much of emotion, being emotional, like basically you do one little thing, it gets her upset, and that I don't mean in that attribute of things. What I basically mean is when you're going forward into a relationship or a circumstance happen and you probably inconsiderate of her per se. Just giving an example, this might cause her to be, affected by that in a sensitive way, not so much of emotional, but it affects her in a way where it caused I don't want to say emotion, but it just caused her to ponder the situation and feel whatever feeling that it is, but on a sentimental level. Okay, so if that man could bring, certain types of security, such as the simple things as respect and consideration, and, bring those, those things that matter in a relationship, that brings a certain type of level of security to a woman and her being able to communicate with the opposite sex in particular. So they, upon entering, you have to be able to foster things. As a bronze man, you have to be able to foster certain things. With a woman, be able to hold your own and be able to lead and guide her. Which is very, imperative and important. And upon, leading and guiding her, one of the things that are very important is for the woman to also embrace that side of her, to where she is open and open to the leadership of a man, and, having that alpha man in her life and things like that, because you have women, bronze women nowadays that feel so independent and self-sufficient that they don't need a man to do certain things that are very important in, maintaining a relationship. So, the bronze woman have to be open to, those aspects of relationships when you are entering a relationship. Okay, and then the level of self-entitlement. Once things, let's say per se, things are official and things are in perspective, and it's, the man, the woman, in relationship, or wife or husband, things are just, in the official state. What basically happens is that you have people that have this preconceived thought or perception of relationships, and upon being self-entitled, they feel that just because they are a person's man or a person's woman, that they are entitled to certain things, which in fact, based on the perception and self-entitlement, could be wrong, because the self-entitlement is basically preyed on what's right and their right or wrong view of things. So to give you a prime example, sexism case. You might have a man that have a preconceived thought that a woman's supposed to, this could be an alpha man per se, or a beta man, but an alpha man, he might feel, okay, that a woman should be able to cook, clean, and do extra things for the so-called man and things like that, upon still respecting her. This is a preconceived thought that the man has upon, stabilizing a relationship. And you might have some women that oppose that, upon that man having that preconceived thought. And just based on that, and, general, that has a lot to do with self-entitlement, that man's view. And now on the flip side of things, you might have a woman that's in a relationship. She might feel that it's okay to invade the man's privacy, be able to, be entitled to certain things because she feels that she's his woman or wife. He should be able to do certain things. But there's a level of a degree, well, not even a level of degree, but there is a perspective on respecting people's privacy, including your own. If you don't want the person to do it to you, then you shouldn't do it to no one else. But based on this woman's preconceived thought, she might feel going into a relationship that she's entitled to these things, and then especially when, women, bondsmen and women have this whole mindset of being possessive and having, a mindset of finding another person as property and things like that. Like that's avenues of going into an unhealthy relationship when you are possessive or have a preconceived thought of looking at someone or viewing someone as an item and a property of your own because you are in a relationship with them and you're investing in things. That's not the way you carry a relationship and be able to allow it to grow. Okay, so those are some of the things that, a bronze man or bronze woman might have in terms of their view upon, entering a relationship. But, what I realize is that if the only entitlement that a bronze man or woman have is what they agree upon mutually. Like when it comes down to loyalty, based on how that man defines loyalty and how that woman defines loyalty, and including love, on a sentimental level, that's what's more or less, important more than anything, okay? How that person chooses to share their love and receive that love in return is a healthy way of entitlement, opposed to it, being a self-entitlement, which 9 times out of 10 is fall into the category of being selfish. So basically, when you have it mutually, you are in a mutual agreement of things, and you are clear on, the relationship and things like that upon entering and, carrying it on, those are the factors that are very, very important. And then upon exiting a relationship, people exit relationships, they break up for a number of reasons. And one of the views that a bronze woman has, it falls under two parallels. You have a woman that could be fed up with a bronze man in relationship, to whereas she won't even deal with that person, won't speak or call or even text that person, and just be completely done upon exiting a relationship with a bronze man, or just, a man in general in relationships that they are in. They will no longer, see a need to keep the lines of communication open with that relationship in particular, okay, for whatever reason, being, but 9 times out of 10, it may not have been a good outcome or turnout for why, when a woman do make up her mind to not be in a relationship with a particular, man or bronze man in general because of, a bad circumstance or situation. So it could be a case of, a woman being in an abusive relationship, whether it be emotionally or physically. And once she has had enough with that man coming back all the time, putting his hands on her, verbally abusing her, and coming back every time, oh, that's my love, baby, I love you, or this, that, the third, and just keep doing the same cycle over and over. Once that woman has had enough, that's it. There's no turning back. There's no hurt, thinking that it would be a life experience that she don't never want to revisit, but she's done. She's done with the relationship at all costs. Okay, so that's something that bronze women are very strong on in perspective when they make up their minds. When they are in the situation, sometimes it's a case of you like it, I love it situation. So sometimes it's until that person realizes when they're in a relationship, when it's no longer useful or dead, that's when they know when they have enough. And that's just with women in general. Okay? And then the parallel, the opposite, you got some women that will break off a relationship healthy, whereas she won't have a problem with communicating with the guy, who she was with, and keeping things in perspective and moving on with her life. So it's two parallels between the two, and that's just how some things, are. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next topic, which is what a bronze woman seek in relationships. So we're going to be talking about the whole perspective of what a woman wants or what she's seeking per se. So with that being said, we'll be right back. And we are back on the NETERAL radio show hosting CENDEARAH Mendays. Okay, so for the next topic that we're going into is what a bronze woman is basically search for, seeking in a relationship. And one of the things that a bronze woman basically seeks in a relationship is to build and invest in a healthy or quality relationship. And when I say healthy relationship, a healthy relationship consists of, her maintaining the attributes of a relationship, her role and what she play in a relationship to maintain the health and the status of that relationship. So basically, she looks to build and invest on a level to whereas it just keeps the tranquility, going. But then when you think about the quality of a relationship, you have certain types of women that try to maintain the quality of it, meaning the status, mainly how they appear as a couple, the morality that they have. These are the things that are more external and what they care about. You can have women that care about both the health and the quality, but you got those couples that may be power couples, for example, that only care about the quality of the relationship, the value of the relationship, but they don't really, necessarily have a connection or don't care to have a connection with each other, but they maintain that quality and image that they uphold. Okay, but when you have a woman that maintains the internal part of the relationship, she cares about the health, the whole overall health of the relationship, the man's well-being, her well-being, and the productive aspect of the relationship, which is important. Okay, and this is what the woman seeks to invest in and to build as well in the relationship. Okay, so there's a number of things that a woman looks to build. She looks to build, a legacy, an empire per se, with the man that she's with. She's looking to have a family with the man that she's with if she takes that man serious. Okay, and then investment that she might invest financially, emotionally, all attributes, basically sowing good seeds into the relationship and watching it bloom, just figuratively, using, the words, but basically by her investing, she's reaping what she sowed into the relationship to keep the health of the relationship going and maintaining the attributes of that. So it's understandable that when you have those types of women that may just only care about the quality of the relationship, and they invest so much into the relationship, and things happen, whereas the man may have an affair. And, you know, she gets upset and mad because she's investing in the relationship. She's doing so much stuff, and for the man to do that is like a slap in her face. You know, just giving a prime example. So it's understandable of her being upset, but, you know, the action behind it, of which she takes, is all determines of how in control she is about that, you know, about how she handles situations such as that. But, this is one of the things that are raised with bronze women, when it also falls under the category of self-entitlement as well, and not to, you know, gear off topic, but with the self-entitlement, sometimes they feel that they invest certain things that they entitled to, destroy what they feel that they build, or whatever, you know, thing that they have, and that's not healthy for that woman's well-being, or just the relationship just in general. Some things just need to be assessed from a distance, and just keep your distance if, you know, you're dealing with situations that are not pleasing or welcoming. You know, it can be heartbreaking, you know, for some bronze women, but sometimes it's just best to be in control of your emotions, because that's what a woman is all about. She's in control of her emotions, her essence of who she is, and don't allow things that are outside herself to affect her to where she's physically, or making wrong decisions that's going to basically go against her. Okay, so one of the things is just to assess the situation and just deal with it from a distance, and then, come back to the situation when you're level-headed and, not upset and mad by a particular situation that way. Although it's understandable in terms of being upset on a sentimental level. Okay, another thing that bronze women seek in relationship is commitment, communication, and those two factors, just in general, is commitment and communication, is what's very important. It was another thing that I wanted to mention, but I can't think of it right now. But when it comes down to commitment, if you have a woman that's committed to her standards and who she is and what she is and what she stands for, of course her expectations, realistically, and her standards, and upon going into a relationship, is going to be the same. So if she's bringing something of high value to the table, she expects for that man to bring that same back in return and nothing less. And there's nothing wrong with those women that set their standard high, to whereas they don't settle for anything less, that will either belittle them or, not make them, feel, that they are up to par with their standards, so upon a bronze woman maintaining the attributes of herself, and not to where she's just snotty or anything like that, but just keep things in perspective of what she wants from a relationship, where she want to go in a relationship, and, be in control of that, that aspect of her life, and being committed to that, there's nothing wrong for that when she's looking for that in the relationship, when she enters the relationship with a man. So if that man is not willing to commit on a certain level, and committing has a lot to do with sacrifice, because a woman knows what it's like to sacrifice, and a bronze woman per se knows what it's like to sacrifice certain things and be disciplined. And sometimes you might have men that may have a very, very, very hard time. Bronze men are having a very hard time with being, disciplined and being able to, get rid of habits or sacrifice certain habits don't really serve the relationship that the woman, or quality of relationship that the woman is looking for in particular. Okay, so on that aspect of commitment, it should be something that's mutual between that man, that bronze man, and that bronze woman. Okay, and then when it comes down to the communication, a woman wants to be understood, yes, but a woman also wants to know that in communication, that it's just not the man just talking at her, or whatever the case might be, or vice versa, but the conversation is going some way, it's stimulating and things like that. Communication plays a key role and factoring out a relationship and things of that nature. So this is what a woman looks for in a relationship as well too. Last but not least, companionship. A companionship has a lot to do with her day-to-day, how she would interact with that man, that is of interest, who she can look to build and, seek to build and invest in, and as well as grow in a relationship. So those are the factors that play a part in her seeking, in a relationship. If she feels she's not going to get that in some way, and let's say she's just trying to, fill her way out of things, she might give a relationship a certain time period, but it also has an expiration date at a certain point in time. Because if she's bringing X, Y, Z to the table and you're not bringing that, back in return, then it will be limited. So I'm going back to the fact that you got bronze men and you got bronze women that don't have time to waste or time to play around. So it's very imperative that you be very concrete and clear upon going in a relationship, what you want from it, who you want to be with, what you're going to bring to the table, what you got to offer that person, and you got to actually internalize all of that and be that person who you actually want to attract and be able to carry on a relationship with. Okay, and then last but not least, which is very, 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 very important with bronze women in particular. And, the bronze women that are listening, you could agree to disagree with me, but I know mostly you will agree with me that consistency in a relationship plays a key factor in, you being in communion or, you being in upon entering a relationship with a man. So if he started out a certain way, the expectation 9 times out of 10 that is not going to always continue that way. But the validity of the relationship, the value of the relationship, although things may take a left turn, that the values and the morality of the relationship is still the same. But if you got a bronze man or a man in particular investing in you, buying you things in the beginning, or because possibly he wants to get pants and just leave, at the end of the day, that relationship is limited, and it had an agenda and a factor that, you couldn't really invest in. But when it comes down to that, if he started out strong, started out respectful, then he take a left turn, that relationship is not consistent and it only gets worse. Okay, and that relationship is limited. So it's always good to keep, factoring, the things that are, important in a relationship at first hand before, you decide to invest long term in a relationship with the bronze man, and vice versa for you bronze men that are in relationship with bronze, women per se. Okay, so with that being said, we'll be right back. Okay, so the next question that stands in line is, what power do bronze women have but do not utilize in relationships? Now, you bronze women, don't get at me, but this is something that I learned over time on my own. But one of the things that we do have, that a bronze woman have, is the power to listen attentively, okay, and be very resilient. Now, y'all can agree to disagree with me, but one of the things is over time, in relationships and how things is and being caught up and entangled with self-entitlement, we refuse to listen, especially when we are in, disagreement with our men, our bronze men. We refuse to listen, and one of the things we, develop over time is the lack of patience. And one of the things that I realize is that when you tap into that ability to listen attentively, and attentively meaning you have the power to pay attention to details, and details in essence of being able to sense things, be able to give information beforehand, just upon just listening, not just with your ears, but just being in tune and, aware of what's going on, and that takes active listening. So many times over time, we've been inactively listening based off of our emotions and how we feel, and deciding based off our emotions, which is unhealthy. So, the correct way to go about that in terms of listening is being able to not only be open-minded, but be able to not just be heard, but be able to, assess the situation or, a disagreement that you might have with your man and listen, opposed to just imposing, your views with that bondsman or trying to be right or wrong or whatever the case might be. Stop, don't be disagreeable with him. Just listen, hear him out, and you go from there. Bondsmen also have that ability to listen as well too. Just like, for example, for you women that are out there, when you're talking to him, and let's say he may be watching a football game and he hears everything that you're saying, and the thing that he is paying attention to is practical details. Men have a capability of listening to practical details, the things that are, practical and relevant. Those are the things that he hears, that you are getting across to him. But because you cynic your emotions and stuff like that, sometimes you have to tune you out because he don't want to hear all that staticky, that emotion behind it, but he hear the practical details in it. Sometimes it might take him, you might want him to do something, it might take him a while to do it, based off the fact that he tuned you out. He didn't want to hear you at the time, but he know that somewhere he's going to get to it, eventually down the line. So it's all a part of being patient, which we have the ability to be patient. So you bronze women can't say, oh, you're not patient or you don't have the patience for certain things, because we actually do. We have patience with our children at times, and their development and raising them. And we have patience in dealing with people on the job and things like that. So we do have patience. It's just a matter of applying it to a relationship that you have with a bronze, man in particular. Okay, so that power in listening goes a long way. Trust me, and allowing yourself the room to be resilient and be able to listen where you're hearing what your man is saying, what's being communicated, and not being so defensive or offensive, not immediately get in that way, but allow yourself to absorb what's being said and assess it before you respond. So it's okay to not just immediately respond right away. Just listen to what he's saying and then go from there. Because a lot of times I fall victim of that, where I was told that I don't listen because I always wanted to be heard, opposed to just, evaluating the conversation and, it being an equal kind of thing. Okay, so that's one thing. And then that's, those are just basically the two things. And the next question is why productivity in a relationship is important to bronze women, simply because bronze women want to always feel a sense of growth and production in any relationship. When a bronze woman feel that it's not going nowhere, it's kind of like you driving an engine and the engine eventually wears out. Is no more fuel for the relationship. When she don't know where she's going and she just driving aimlessly, it gets tiring after a while. So a woman wants to be able to know that the relationship is productive. She don't like to be in between, don't knowing if she's coming and going. Okay, so it has to be clear. The bronze woman needs to be clear, again, on what it is that she wants from a relationship, where she wants to go, and who she wants to build and invest with. That's very important. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to open up the lines for any questions, comments, or concerns for you bronze women. And, bronze men, if you are listening, are welcome to call in and give your views on the topic on tonight. Once again, it's bronze women in relationships. 361, you on the air? 361, you on the air? Okay, that person is just listening in. Okay, 405, you on the air?
MENDAYZZ.
MENDAYZZ.
This is Jaleesa Z. I was calling to just get in agreement with you on that. Just dealing with that experience on knowing, like you said, to have patience with your spouse and your man. And like you said, you have to listen, because sometimes we can jump the gun and not actually hear him, because we may think and assume something and not fully understand what it is that he's trying to tell us. So you make a great point when it's like, okay, yeah, I may think that because I have that independent attitude that I can do what I need to do on my own. No, allow him to be the man and actually come in and listen to what it is he has to say. If he's the one that's going to be laying the law, just maintain your order and be that woman that you're supposed to be for him, and things will fall in line, and there will not be any problems. You wouldn't have to worry about it. No,
you finish. I agree with you.
But yeah, it's just like when you actually see a difference coming from one bad relationship as far as the male, and then going to someone that is a man, it's like you have to step it up. You can't be doing those same things that you dealt with from your past relationship. So we as Bronx have to step it up, because we always look at the other race like, why are they going to this? It's because they see what we are supposed to be doing, and they're mimicking that. They're trying to do it better than us, and we're sitting back having a sour face or having an attitude instead of stepping up and handling business accordingly.
I agree 100%, Ms. Stone and Roger, Lisa. That you hit the nail right on the head. It's true that happens. You know, it's just a matter of keeping things in harmony and unison. And you got some women that, you know, are out there that feel that that's beneath them to balance their relationship, which is not healthy. Yeah. So, so I thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts.
You're welcome.
Once again, you hit the nail right on the head.
All right. Wallet and MENDAYZZ.
Okay, Tuzak. Okay. All right, 361. I'm going to try you again. 361, you on air? 361, you on air? Okay, so we got nothing from 361. Usually when you press 1, that just means that you want to, call in or ask a question. But without further ado, the broadcast is coming to a close. And I thank you all for taking the time out to listen to NETERAL Radio Show. And once again, we will come back in on next Tuesday on another hot topic. So you all have a wonderful night. And I would hope you was able to get, some view and perspective on bronze women and relationships just in general. So with that being said, you all have a great night.